What's going on, y'all? It's your host, Will Cooper, coming back for another episode of the HuntStand podcast. On today's new episode, we are going to be having on guest Tim Kent to talk about mental fortitude, mental strength, and physical strength. And specifically, I want to talk about these things because I feel like all three of these are so overlooked by so many men and women out there. And I specifically want to get Tim on here to talk about this because this man runs like crazy. Like, I'm talking like Cam Hanes type level. If you don't follow him on Instagram already, go give him a follow because I feel like every day I look at this guy's story, he's putting on 7, 8, 9, 10 miles running and just running like a madman. And so I want to talk to him about how he finds that strength to push through, because at the end of the day, he understands that those things are going to make him a better man, a better hunter, a better husband, and a better father. And so we're going to really dive into that. We'll go down a couple rabbit holes, but we're going to get Tim on here to talk about all those things, and hopefully y'all be able to take something from that and be able to apply it to you and your life. And if you're going through some struggles yourself and you're trying to find a way to push through and get out of those struggles, take a listen to today's podcast. And y'all, we just want to thank y'all for tuning into the HuntStand podcast. All the support that we've gotten from everybody so far has been amazing. If you've got ideas for podcasts, or you've got questions for us, or you think that there's a topic out there we need to talk about, send me an email. That's just podcast@huntstand.com. That way, I make sure your voice is heard, because a lot of times we get questions and things that they fall through the cracks on social media in the comment section. It's inevitable. So, y'all make sure that you hit us up through email. That way I know your voice is heard. And again, if y'all can, go on over, rate, review, subscribe, follow on whatever listening platform you're on right now. We really appreciate it. It really helps us out. So again, y'all, just want to thank you for the support, tuning into the HuntStand podcast, and we hope you enjoy. Well, Tim, man, first and foremost, thanks for coming on the HuntStand podcast. Really appreciate you taking the time out of your day and just talking with us, man.
Yeah, it's exciting to be here. I always love doing these things, and I'm really flattered by being asked to be a guest, but I'm also really impressed with how much you've done to grow the podcast in such a short period of time. You've done a great job, Will.
Appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. I enjoy doing it and getting to learn about people. So to get that into motion, you've listened to the podcast. I like to get the 30-foot tree stand view of who the guest is whenever we get this thing rolling. So tell us who Tim Kent is.
Oh, man. Well, I'm nobody, but been involved in the hunting industry for a long time. Sort of cut my teeth in retail, like a lot of folks. I was one of those folks, like many of your other guests. I had a dad who was an outdoorsman, hardcore fisherman, hardcore bow hunter. He just really loved the outdoors and really loved hunting. As he's aged, he slowed down a bit, and it's more me dragging him out than him dragging me out anymore. But he really got me introduced to things, and I picked up his passion for it and his dedication to it. I mean, my dad was one of those rain, sleet, snow, shine kind of guys. There was nothing stopping him from going trout fishing or going deer hunting, no matter what the season. And I ran cross country in high school, and I was telling someone the other day, my dad would show up to our Saturday invitationals dressed in full camo. He'd hang out for a few hours and he'd be like, okay, got a jet, got to get out for the afternoon sit, and sometimes he'd grab me and we would go, and sometimes he'd just go on his own. And, after I was done racing or whatever. And, he never missed a beat, and that I absorbed all of that. And so much so that when it came time for deciding a career path, I had some things that I wanted to do and some passions, and I really wanted to figure out a way to marry those. And initially my career path and what I wanted to do was photography and everything else. And then I got a little deeper into that while I was in college and realized that was going to be a challenge. So I started exploring, a communications degree and other aspects of marketing. And I was fortunate enough to take those skills after I graduated from school and merge them all together and find, the beginnings of a career, and then eventually evolve that into positions within the hunting industry. And primarily I've worked in the archery industry the majority of my career, and it's been a great spot. And having such a high level of passion for it, it made it really easy. And I just didn't know anything else that I really wanted to do. It's just
Yeah.
like, this is it. This is all I want to do. And I'm going to keep pressing hard. My wife and I were joking the other night with our girls. When I first was getting going, it was hard, and I was making no money and working a lot. My wife would come home and be like, "You didn't make dinner?" Classic early relationships. We weren't married then, we were just sketched. You didn't vacuum, and I was like, "No, I was working on whatever, and I wasn't making any money, so there's nothing going into the bank account." It's like, well, what do you mean you were working? Like, you're not getting paid. Like, go get a job, or if you're not going to have a job, you better vacuum. And but like, she just didn't see that I was cultivating a business at the time, and I was following my passion, and that eventually those two things would knife edge in on one another. And for a lot of people, they don't. But I was one of those people where that wasn't an option. It was, I'm going to do this, or I don't know what I'm going to do. It was just
Yeah.
a very singular focus for me, and I was fortunate that everything sort of clicked, and I met the right people who helped me get introduced to more right people, and it just sort of manifested in something bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's been one heck of a ride for a pretty considerable amount of time at this point.
Man, I want to pretty much what you just said right there is I get asked a lot from people. In fact, I just got a text from a guy yesterday I'd never met before that somebody gave him my contact info. He's like, I went to school to do this. I want to work in the hunting industry. I'm like, well, let me tell you, man, there's a lot of work, a lot of hours, and a lot of people you need to meet before that happens. So,
yeah,
dude, like, you just basically explained how to get in the outdoor industry. It takes time and dedication.
Yeah, for sure. And you got to be patient, but I think that's the case with anything that we really have any level of passion about.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, you don't, like, if we're talking about hunting specifically, it's not like some folks get lucky, but it's not like you walk out on the first day of the season and you shoot a 160-inch buck and it just goes like that all the time. Again, like, yeah, can it happen? Of course. But generally speaking, it takes a considerable amount of preparation, time, maybe even years before that happens. I mean, some people have never killed a 160-inch deer. Some people have never killed a 140, a 120, mm-hmm. or whatever, but aspirationally, they keep working toward it. And for me, that's just one of those things is just, I just like working toward a goal. And when I don't have a goal, I can definitely get adrift. I just think that's human nature. And, fortunately for all this, I've just always had goals. And I'm also one of those people who always thinks they suck at everything that they do. So I continue to try and, at least if I'm going to suck at it, I'll do more that I suck at. So,
yeah. Well, that's what I do. If I suck at something, as much as I don't want to do it, especially when it comes to the gym. Might be good at bench press. I hate squats. So guess what I'm going to be doing? I'm going to be squatting. So,
legs every day, man.
Leg day every day, baby. No chicken legs around this house. So this is kind of the perfect segue because I want to take your background and what you do, and I really want to kind of let people know and get people to understand like the benefit of being healthy. And I'm not just talking about from a physical perspective, but a mental perspective and what that can do for you. And you kind of touch on it by setting goals, maintaining goals, objectives. And so kind of walk us through, what you've done through your career, your hunting resume, where you've gotten to go hunting and everything, how you've built that mental fortitude, mental strength, and obviously physical fitness. I mean, I follow you on IG and it's like you're running 10 miles every day. You're like Cameron Haynes Jr. It's like you're Cam Haynes Jr.
Yeah, right.
So Tim, just kind of tell us, man, like how you've built yourself going through kind of that mental strength and physical strength, obviously. So kind of start us off.
Well, I'm human, right? So I don't have it all the time, but a lot of it for me is just finding inspiration in some other folks. I'm one of those people who has always needed to sort of be active. And,
mm-hmm.
As I touched on earlier, I was a high school cross country runner. and that was my thing. And it was a really good outlet for me. And it helped me. I was never a great student. Never just did well in the classroom. I didn't see the application of school. And that's one of those things, sort of back to the focus thing. I feel like in order for me to learn something, I need to know how I'm going to apply it. And I didn't have that goal or that focus when I was in school. My only goal was to just get done, right? Okay, I'm gonna graduate and then I'm gonna go to college. But when I was in college, I could actually see the clearer picture. But as it comes to the physical side, I was just, when I was a little kid, just always out riding bikes and running around the neighborhood and playing with my neighbors and doing that stuff. And then through grade school and high school, just running. I mean, running was my thing. And first year of college ran a bit, and then I got burned out on it. And so I still needed that outlet. And so I started, strength training and doing whatever else. I had a roommate who was really into strength training, and he taught me everything, and he was really strict and had learned from some bodybuilder guys. So he was great about teaching form and everything else. So I had a really good instructor in this guy, Scott. And so that carried with me until I started running again. And my journey back into running came by way of Cameron Haynes, actually, having touched on him earlier.
Mhm.
You did. And, I watched, he did a video on the Bighorn 100. It was a race that he had done, and just the suffering that he endured through that race. And I was like, and then he talked about the belt buckle that he had earned. And I was like, you get a belt buckle for running an ultra? That sounds awesome.
Hell yeah.
Like the teeniest little stupid prize. Like, I'm going to go beat the shit out of myself for 24 hours or more to get a belt buckle. It makes no sense. But like, that guy has inspired so many people. And as a result of that, I was like, I'm going to start running again. And so I did. And a lot of people say after I post a run or something, they're like, "Oh, how do you run X amount of miles?" And I always kind of chuckle. I'm like, "Oh, just put one foot in front of the other." But when I came back to it, even after being a pretty talented cross country runner in high school, now my dog's going.
I'm putting this on the podcast, man.
So I have a German short hair pointer, and that's a hound, and she's howling back at the fire siren.
Oh no.
Oh, she does it every day. Sorry, I was hoping we'd get through without it.
That was perfect, man. I have to. Gonna have
All right,
to.
yeah.
But anyway, back to the cross country running when you got back to it, one foot in front of the other.
You want to start again?
No, let's roll through it, man.
Oh my gosh. Well, anyway, so when I first started running again, I couldn't run a quarter mile, and so it was one of those things I had to build back into it.
Yeah.
You would think, oh, well, I did this, whatever, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. I should be able to just pick it up. I have this natural talent, and you do to a certain extent, but I weighed like 140 pounds in high school. And, when you weigh 180 pounds or more when you start, or, at that point, I think I weighed even more when you start running again. You're not moving around the same mass. You're not, you know what I mean? Your efficiency is totally different. Your body is out of shape. It totally hurts more. I mean, I had, shin splints, and my hips hurt, and, my knees bothered me, but I wasn't going to let that stop me. I wanted to get back into it, and, and I wanted to maybe eventually earn a belt buckle. But part of the driving force for getting back into running too was I had started elk hunting a few years before that, or right around that time, and just getting into the mountains. And as much as I did my best to sort of get in shape quickly for each season, I was just realizing like it wasn't enough. I needed to be more consistent. I needed to have a bigger base underneath me. And I needed to have sort of goals to look forward to in order to achieve that on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
And so I started racing a little bit, and would put races strategically on my calendar through times that I would traditionally fall off with my training, mostly during hunting season, which it's hard to sacrifice Saturday during hunting season. in order to go run a race. But I knew that from a long-term perspective, if I did that, that I would be more prepared for the next fall's hunt, because I would carry myself through. And, so I would do one in October, another one in December, another one in February or March, and then roll into and I wouldn't be at the peak of my fitness during those traditional, what I'll refer to as winter months, but
Yeah.
at least I was staying active and making it happen. And then all the while still strength training. And then it got to the point, as I matured a little bit more as a runner, I sort of found ways to make it so the two things worked together and weren't sort of in opposition, if you will. Like, I would do things to help running. I would not do things in the gym certain days to not sabotage, like a long run, let's say.
Yeah.
But, I would strategically put days together or not put days together. And after a while, I had built so much of a base up that it was just like, I can almost do whatever I want whenever I want. And, but not always. You still do a brutal squat workout, and it's going to get you a few days later if you try and do a long run. So
Oh yeah.
I try, but I just needed to maintain that activity to keep my brain and my body all kind of in alignment. And it's really worked. It's really worked well for me, and I love it. It's just a huge component of my life. I'm a huge advocate of fitness, and it's also made it so it's easier to hang tree stands. It's easier to, go and walk further to a spot. It's easier to control my adrenaline sometimes.
Oh yeah.
It just makes it so I don't get cold as often when I'm sitting in a tree stand, and all of that to me has been other ancillary additional benefits.
Oh, absolutely. And obviously, I think a lot of people understand the benefits that being physically fit brings to the table. And when you start working out more and you start doing more like that, and you're putting your body into a better place, there's some things that tend to fall in line from a mental strength perspective or mental fortitude perspective. Like I want to touch on this with you. Like, when you took the time and the determination to start running again and get back to it, essentially, like you're trying to get back to an older or younger version of yourself, and you're having to push harder, and you're having to get rid of these limits that you set on yourself, after you're talking about going from being 145 to 185. And so talk to us about what that did for you in a mental perspective, the positive impact it had on you.
Oh gosh, just I relate a lot of things back to running. So right now, I'm right now is a great time to actually be talking about this.
Mm-hmm.
I injured my ankle on May 12th.
Yep.
Like, pretty catastrophic injury. Like, I have an appointment with an orthopedic surgeon next Wednesday to
wait, are you telling me we're not going antelope hunting?
No, we're going antelope hunting. I might be in a group.
If we draw.
Yeah, if we draw, right. And so, it's whatever, 6 or 7 weeks at this point, and it just hasn't been healing. And I've been doing like rehab exercises on my own that I know, because I have another rebuilt ankle.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's going to come to that. I don't think I broke it. I think I just gave myself a good sprain, but I need somebody to validate that for me. And I probably should have done it a day or two after I injured it, but I've just done this before, and I thought I was smart enough, which I'm not, to be like, to self-diagnose. Be like, I think it'll be okay. I'll just ice and elevate and take Advil and whatever. And then a week after that, I got COVID. And that was another thing that held me back from going and seeing a doctor, was I had to get through that. And the COVID really wiped me out for I shouldn't say it really wiped me out for like 3 days, but I had lingering effects for like 11 or 12 days.
Yeah.
And when I went back to training, I did my first run after like 5 days of the initial positive test. And I was like, holy cow, that sucked. And I ran 3 miles. And then a couple days later, I ran 5 miles, and it felt like I ran 20. And it just took everything I had to run 5 at a slower pace. And so, the thing that I've been reminding myself through this whole process as I'm sort of recovering, because I would say right now, I would say I'm physically injured and a little bit mentally injured, and as a result of COVID and the ankle, and like I just can't. I'm like 30% less capacity than what I could normally do, if you will.
Yeah.
And I just reminding myself, like, okay, it's just going to take a little time. You're going to bounce back. You're going to bounce back. You're going to get
Mhm.
bounce back. You just gotta get past these things. And my body's not going to forget 20 years or whatever of doing this stuff. It's not going to forget 20 years of strength training, and my bench press is not going to drop 30%, or my mileage capacity is not going to drop. Like, once things clear out, I'm going to be okay, and I'm going to be able to jump back into doing true long runs and whatever else. So, to more directly answer your question about the mental side of things, that's exactly that. Is, instead of having like a defeatist mentality about it, I know that I'm going to recover, and I know that I'm going to be able to do a 20-mile run again, and or 22-mile or whatever, or run an ultra or do any of those things, because I have that base both of physical fitness but of mental confidence that the sun's going to come back up tomorrow, and we'll be able to do this again, albeit it might be slower and it might take a little bit of time. But I've been able to take that and sort of apply it to a lot of other things in my life, whether it comes to like our businesses and that type of thing. Like, the physical stimulation side gives me more confidence to know that I can get other things accomplished in business, or challenges in business. Like, I can take a step back and realize, okay, this is just a speed bump, we'll get through it,
Yeah.
and whatever else. And to me, there's an enormous amount of value in that. And unfortunately, I think as a culture, we tend to give up on things. It's like the people that really know how to press and push tend to really know how to press and push and always continue to do that. And then it's sort of binary. There's almost like a not much of a gray area. And then there's the people that they run into an obstacle and they're just like, oh, I can't do it. And I just can't do that. That's just not how I'm hardwired. And I have this friend, Michelle. There was a running podcast that is done by a local guy here. It's a great podcast,
Yeah.
and we I did an interview for it, and she had talked to she's really good friends with this guy who's the host, and she had talked to him beforehand. And he's like, I don't really know Tim Kent. What's one of the things that you could tell me about him? And she's like, well, if Tim tells you you're going out for a 20-mile run, she's like, you're going out for a 20-mile run. She's like, it's not 19, it's not 16, it's 20. She's like, he will eke out 20. And she's like, and if it's 16, it's 16. If it's 8, it's 8. She's like, like he just like that's what it is. And that so he asked me about that as we were recording, and I said, hey man, like, if you're in the middle of an ultra and it's like, let's say it's a 50K,
Mhm.
it's still 31 miles. If I feel like garbage at 26, I still got 5 to go, because stopping is not an option. I might have to walk, or I might have to fuel, or I might have to do whatever, but I'm not gonna stop. I'm not gonna give up. I've never dropped out of a race, ever. As much as it has sucked, or I want, or barfing, or cramping, or anything. It's just, okay, got to take a step back, find a solution. And from a hunting perspective, it's strange, because there's been times, like especially out west, where I need to like take a step back and recaptivate that, because there was a lot of times, like, you get into those last 2 days of a hunt, like let's say an elk hunt,
Yeah.
like, oh, it's not coming together, I'm just going to give up. Well, your chances are just as good on the last hour as they were on the first hour. So you got to press through. And it's one of those things I've been trying to learn how to remind myself, because I still will find myself in that defeatist theory every once in a while. I'm like, whoa, 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 hey there, pal. Eke it out, go to the very end.
Yeah. I mean, essentially what you're saying is, yes, mental strength, you hear that term all the time, but doing this to your body and putting yourself basically in uncomfortable situations and working out and getting physically fit, it actually helps reshape your brain, is kind of what I'm taking from this.
Yeah, and it's funny because I don't fancy myself as being mentally strong. I don't. I mean, I was in the gym this morning and I felt like I failed at something, and maybe it's my personality or how I was raised or whatever. But like, I look at other people and I'm like, wow, that guy is just so tough. He's got so much grit or whatever. And I look at myself, I'm like, man, I just I don't know, and maybe that's a part of it is that I just don't feel like I'm mentally strong, so I have to do the work, and I hear other people talk about that. We could name drop a whole bunch of different guys who are kind of what I would refer to as leaders in those capacities or influencers or thought leaders or whatever. And
Yeah.
I hear a lot of them say like, I don't have talent. I don't have strength more than other people. I wasn't naturally gifted. I just go and I work. And that's there's a lot to be said for that. And there's a lot to be said for the consistency. And I'm definitely, I mean, my one hunting partner will tell you, like, I've been the failure mode on several hunts. Where it's like, okay, dude, we're at day whatever, I'm done, and I'll let him hunt through the end. And maybe I just needed a mental break or something. But
Hmm.
um, and it's just one of those things that I'm working on because I'm not as I'm not super tough. I'm a work in process.
We're going to interrupt this podcast real quick, y'all, from a word from our sponsors. The HuntStand podcast is brought to you by Browning, makers of fine firearms, gear, and technical clothing. Best there is. Up next, we got Federal Premium and their lineup of Terminal Ascent. Go beyond what you ever thought possible with Federal Premium Terminal Ascent. And finally, Work Sharp Tools. Sharpen every knife you own. All right, y'all, we're going to get back to this episode of the HuntStand podcast. Man, you're tougher than me. I mean, I'll tell you right now, like, you and I kind of have the same story. We've got the same background. I went to college and I ran track. Now, I was a sprinter. That's where I was different than you. But I hate running, man. Like, I absolutely freaking hate it. And so, like, just seeing you go out there and do that, like, the miles that you're putting in, I'm like, damn, if Tim can do that, I can do this. I can do it. But then, like, I get a mile in, I'm like, I am freaking tired and hurting.
Yeah, but I think that's the back to my thing about people that inspire you. It's like we can all learn from each other, and like you're inspiring somebody else probably. Like they're probably watching your journey and going, "Man, Will's running." And I always thought Will was a beast in the gym, or he was a great sprinter, but now I see him doing this other stuff. And it's funny because you never know who those people are too, or even like how impressed they might be with what might seem like a small accomplishment to you, but is like an enormous accomplishment to them. And they look at it and they hold on to that and they think to themselves like, I want to accomplish something because of that. I mean, that's truly the definition of it, of, um, the inspiration. Right. And,
Yeah.
it's just, you just never know. And for me, like my personal mission statement is always to make myself better so I can help other people get better. I mean, it runs through and through in everything I do, whether it's the fitness side of things or the business side of things or hunting or whatever. Like I'm always trying to learn, even if I'm doing it the long way around. I'm just always trying to improve and find a way to, help somebody else improve because I feel like that's my meaning. You know what I mean? Like that's the thing that makes I don't know, makes me feel good about who I am and
It's
what
what
my
makes you
contribution
you.
to whatever. Yeah, yeah, and just but there's so many people that have inspired me in that regard. I
Yeah.
mean, just so many. The list is so long, and I'm grateful that those people like shared their things. Like we could talk about social media, right? I was definitely an early adopter on social,
Hmm.
but there's a lot of people that misuse and abuse it. But man, what an excellent tool when used properly
Yes.
to help other people and spread messages and just like and sometimes there's confusion like, oh, so and so's a narcissist, or they have this self-centered view, and there are people like that, there's no doubt about it. But
Yeah.
some people just really honestly are on there because they want to help other people just accomplish more or do more. They want to teach like this little I think it's 5-minute crafts or whatever on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what a cool thing for anybody, like whether it's kids or adults or whatever. Like somebody just mustered up the guts one day is like, oh, this probably seems really stupid and a lot of people are going to hate it, but there's going to be a whole segment of people that are like inspired by this or will learn something, and I'm just going to keep doing it. And I think that part of social is amazing.
Yeah, it really is. It's got some really good power, but then it's got some dark sides to it. But
Oh, for sure.
so when it comes to all this working out that you're doing, we've talked about how it kind of helps. I'll go back to reshaping your brain. You're putting your body through all these different things, and you're pushing through, and you're inspired by others. How have you seen your mood change? Do you see yourself getting less stressed? Are you sleeping better? What other aspects of your life has just being physically, just healthy from a mental and physical perspective? Like, what have you seen it do for you?
Yeah, I mean, I totally sleep better. I mean, that's one of the biggest benefits overall that I have found. Unless I start overtraining, then it negatively impacts my sleep. Or if I'm really sore, I find myself just not having the ability to get comfortable.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen super often. But 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 yeah, sleep is one huge thing, and then just the ability to handle stress or find an outlet for that stress. A lot of times if I'm hung up on a project, or if I need an idea or I really need to think about something, I'll go run or I'll go to the gym because it's like my form of meditation almost.
Yeah.
And I never run with music. I shouldn't say never. That's such a
What?
strong word, but I very rarely run with music because that's my time. If I'm training for something specific, I'm really trying to be focused and, doing deliberate practice on what I'm trying to achieve for that particular goal. But otherwise, I'm really trying to just use that time, like I said, to center my thoughts and find a little bit of opportunity to meditate and solve problems. So, a lot of times if I have writing to do, whether it's a press release or an article or a product description or any of that type of stuff, and I hit the wall and get writer's block or whatever, I'll go for a run, and my agenda is to solve a problem in my head. And I swear that time that's without distraction, and that just the ability to just focus on like one thing, really helps me to get centered and solve that problem. It doesn't always happen, but it is very frequent that I can do that. And so if I didn't have running or strength training in my life, I don't know what I would do. Would I just be sitting down and slugging down IPAs? Because I like doing that too.
Don't we all?
There's like a a point of diminishing return. Yeah, right, exactly. There's like a point of diminishing return there, but when you hit the edge of creativity, and then you just hit the edge of being shit faced. So, and that's fun too. But like, yeah, I just I don't think I could do that every day. Like, and it's going to catch up with me at some point when I'm going to weigh 280 pounds, right? So, but yeah, it's just a lot of clarity, a lot. My mood is definitely better when I'm training. I mean, I'm just a lot calmer. I can just think through stuff better. I mean, for some reason, I don't know what it is. I always seem to experience a lot of stress like in the March timeframe, like late February, early March. And I think it's the transition of the seasons and just the way our businesses operate and everything else. There's a lot of activity and a lot of things going on then. And man, just to have the outlet of, well, I'm just going to go to the gym today and do a really good hit workout. It's like, thank goodness, because I'd probably pop if I didn't have that.
Same, man. Same. So, have you found yourself through all this? You found yourself being a better man, a better husband, and a better dad. Wouldn't you say that's a correct statement?
Oh, for sure.
Why do you think that so many overlook what we're talking about? I feel like there's some guys in the industry, guys and girls. There's a lot of people that they see the benefits to this, and in my personal opinion, just over the past few years and going into today, there's been a big movement. And I mean, you've seen it because it's a rise in popularity. People are getting in shape. They're wanting to go further and deeper in the backcountry, or they're just wanting to be in shape so they can be a better man, better husband, dad, or mother, daughter, and wife. That's just what they're seeing the benefits. They're doing that. But then there's some out there that I don't think they fully understand like what they could be capable of if they just engulf themselves in this. Why do you think people are overlooking this?
It's probably easy to pass judgment and say, well, they're selfish, right? And they don't, they're just focused on, things that are more instant gratification or whatever. And
Yeah.
I really struggle because I don't want to be judgmental against folks. Um, I I think that probably the better way to look at it is they haven't experienced the benefit, or they don't have anything to apply it toward, and so they just don't know the difference. Maybe they're happy with their current existence. Maybe they're happy with how they are as a friend, father, daughter, parent, pastor, whatever. Maybe they feel like they're good enough, and that's okay.
Yeah.
That's fine. I just, again, kind of back to the thing about like continuous improvement and deliberate practice. I just want to be a better dad to my kids, or be a better friend, or be a better husband, or be a better bow hunter, or be a better rifle shot. That's one of the things, like, I've worked on for the last few years. Not having target panic there, or be a better runner. And there's also, I think sometimes you can kind of end up on an island when you're going through stuff, and there's a sense of community that comes with some of these things. Like our running community locally is awesome. I've met some of the very best people through that, and that I've learned from those people how to be a better dad. So even by proxy, the not even just the stuff that happens because you went and did a jog together, but like the conversations that you've had in the process or whatever else, and just seeing how some of those dads and moms interact with their kids, at a barbecue or something, or after a race, like wow, I could react better to this thing than I have before. But you have to have that level of objectivity, and I don't know that maybe those people that aren't working toward it, maybe they just haven't had that epiphanal moment yet, or maybe they never will, and that's their journey to have. It's just different than what you or I are going to do, and a lot of other folks who have a similar mentality.
I got it. Yeah, and I guess hearing you say these things, it kind of made me think. I should have framed that question a little bit better. Whereas you look at you take somebody that they go out west the first time, or not first time, they've been out a couple times, and they don't put in the preparation that's needed. And let's frame it in an archery elk perspective for the sake of this conversation.
Now
we're talking. Now we're talking, right? So let's say
now we can talk some shit about some people.
Let's say, let's look at that guy that he's been out west once or twice, and he heads out, and he didn't really do any kind of preparation to get ready for the year. He might have gone and ran like a mile or two like 3 weeks before before the hunt. He didn't take the preparation that was necessary to be successful and have an enjoyable trip. He gets out there, and then it just begins to become this excuse game. Oh, the elk are too far. The elk aren't bugling. Oh, I couldn't go that far. I missed, or it's just this excuse game. And so when I think back to what you're saying, I was like, man, I should have framed it like that, where it's like, you're looking at the guy that's making every excuse in the book. He's pissed, and he's looking to blame everybody but himself. So knowing that, what would you say to have, or what would you have to say to that guy to encourage him to go this route?
Hmm. I hunt I hunt with a partner all the time, sometimes 2 partners. And the thing that I've come to discover doing that is if I'm not willing to go deeper, and I've been that guy,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like, and even on relatively recent hunts, or you're not willing to spend the same amount of time in the field as your hunting partner or whatever, or you don't want to backpack into a spot, or you don't have the right equipment or the right fitness or anything else, you're letting that other person down.
Yeah.
And that person has invested in equipment, they've invested in tags, they've invested time on site, like, in, let's say, Montana as an example. Like, they they took time off of work, or maybe they're self-employed, they're not getting paid that week. You know what I mean? And so
Mm-hmm.
if you're not prepared, sort of indebted to that person's objectives and goals and whatever, then you're letting them down. So your preparation is just as much for yourself as it is for them, maybe even more for them, because you don't want to let the team down, right? If you haven't been doing your shooting and you miss, like, we split our meat when we shoot elk, unless everybody's fortunate enough to get one.
Yeah.
But it's just like, if then nobody got meat, right? Because it's a tough game. Or like you and I are doing an antelope hunt, hopefully, if we draw.
Yeah.
And if we if I miss, and let's say we're filming, I just let you down. You know what I mean? Because I didn't do my. I mean, everybody can miss, but, like, I didn't do my shooting. Or if the antelope are far and we got to cross a really long field and I'm not in shape and whatever else, like, that we're gonna fail as a team. And so I don't like letting people down. I don't like letting myself down, but I really don't like letting other people down, whether it's financially or, um, knowing, like, within the instance of my family, like, I want my family to know all the time by my actions and my words that I love them. You know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
and I support all of that by everything that I do. And it's the same thing when you're on these trips. You want to know that you got that other person's back. Like, I often say, like, when you like, packing an elk out, in my opinion, is one of the hardest things you can do. I mean, especially if you got to go far.
Yeah.
And I remember when I packed my first elk out, we were like 3 miles in, and there was four of us, but when we all had heavy loads, but, like, we did it all in one trip. And I remember I had just these little blips of cell phone service, and I kept texting my wife. I'm like, "Oh my god, this is the hardest thing that I've ever done." She's like, "Dude, you just ran an ultra like 4 weeks ago. Like, what do you mean?" And it was like the third one I had run that summer or something like that. And and then and she's like, "It's worse than this type of workout at the gym or squatting, whatever." And I'm like, "It's so much worse.
It sucks.
This sucks. Yeah, it's so bad." And there's no way to really express that to somebody who's never been initiated to it. But if you're not prepared for that, when you get to that moment,
Mm-hmm.
like, it's bad. It's just, I hurt in 2016. I hurt my back really bad about 3 weeks before we were leaving for elk camp, and we drawn some really good tags that year in Colorado.
Yeah.
And all I could think about all I could think about was, like, that I was gonna be less than 100%, and how that was gonna impact the other 2 guys that I was hunting with. And it was just like, man, they might have to carry some of my gear or whatever, 'cause I really messed myself up. And I hated that feeling. And so maybe those people that you're referring to have never truly, like, let anybody down. I've done it through my life. I'm sad to admit that, but I've definitely let people down, and it's a feeling I honestly hate. I hate that feeling.
Yeah, it's like it's not that they haven't gone through some sucky situations in their life, but like you're saying, they haven't gone through that specific one. So yeah, I definitely get that, man. I do.
Yeah,
And
man. I mean, you know, if you have somebody who gets sick in your family, you want to be there to support them in every single way that you can, right?
yeah,
You don't want to let them down. It's a similar thing. It's just different context.
hmm
You want to be there for the people that you've engaged with. So I
it,
mean, go ahead.
it's an investment, man. It's an investment, and as corny as it sounds, rent's due every day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I love that saying. I absolutely. It's true. And then you start feeling like guilty for the days that you don't do stuff, or you underperform, by contrast to what you maybe normally will do.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, dude, this year, like, I've really, I've really taken my fitness a lot more seriously this year. Probably about as serious as I've been since I was a college athlete, just because, I've gone through some sucky things in life, and this year I decided, man, I'm just going to take it serious. In January, like my goal this year has been to work out 5 days a week. Now, there's been a couple of weeks that I'm not able to do it because I've got work that I might be traveling for, and it's, sometimes it's just not feasible or possible. I mean, obviously it's possible, but sometimes it's just not feasible for myself when I'm on, say, a work trip, for example, and you're just exhausted and trying to do a workout is just out of the question for me. And so I take it as serious as I can, getting that 5 days a week. And if I don't, I feel like crap because I've just created this sense about myself to get it done that I just feel like I'm failing myself and others if I don't go and accomplish something that day.
Yeah, and then again, the guilt that comes along with it makes you feel even worse.
Mm-hmm.
Then you go in the next time to the gym, and you're like, "Oh, I missed that day. That's going to impact my performance."
Yep.
And it's not going to, especially if you have a good base underneath you.
It's like, oh, that
Sort of.
six pack that just started to peek through, gone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Gone.
Yeah.
Well, man, I love all this and what we've been getting to talk about. And so I know we're running short on time, but before we part ways, kind of give the listeners some parting advice that you'd have for them and just this whole physical and mental fitness perspective to hunting.
I think just that's a tough.
Did I stump you?
Man, that's a tall order, Will. Yeah, a little bit. I mean,
I don't ask easy questions
so
here.
personal. Yeah, I guess not.
We go deep,
it's so
man.
personal. Like everybody's.
We go
Yeah.
we go deep. This
I
isn't
think,
surface level.
yeah, yeah. I think you just gotta like you gotta find what works for you. I think a lot of people in this process of inspiration, they back to what you were saying about travel. They'll compare themselves to other people. One of my favorite sayings from Theodore Roosevelt is comparison is the thief of joy. And like don't let whatever you're doing or not doing maybe, rob you of your accomplishments, whether it's in the future or in the past. Just keep working hard toward your goals and don't be too hard on yourself. Like, like if let's say you had planned on doing a 5-mile run today and then some work stuff or whatever started to interfere, do your best to try and still accommodate a 5-mile run, but don't sabotage yourself and do 0 because you're like, oh, I missed it and I didn't get the 5-mile run in, so I'm gonna do 0. Like do 3, do 2, do 1 if you have it. If you don't have a chance to do a full 1 hour at the gym or 40 minutes or whatever your normal regimen is, like find a way before you take a shower to do 50 push-ups and 50 air squats and whatever. Just do a little something.
Yeah.
And if you don't have time to do a full shooting session, like just shoot 2 arrows, shoot 3. Just get a little something in and know that you got it accomplished and feel good about that and know that I got to make up for that. I still got to pay that rent, but I'm going to do it a little later this week. Maybe you got to do 2 workouts in a day because your morning got crushed because, your kid was sick, like your kid is today, or something like that. And um, just kind of continue to be accountable to yourself, but don't beat yourself up in the process. I see so many people that will like self-sabotage because they felt like they failed themselves. And it's like, hold on a sec, just take a deep breath. There's always an opportunity to reboot. Don't wig out about it.
Yep.
So
yep.
Keep on the path, even if there's a little bit of a detour.
Well, man, I love all this. I think there's going to be some folks out there, and I hope that there's some folks out there that if they're going through some struggles or, they're looking to improve on this aspect of their life, that hopefully they'll be able to take some tidbits and golden nuggets from this and make a change and start the incline and positivity going on. So, man, appreciate you hopping on the podcast with us today. Thanks for taking the time and just talking and rambling with me, man.
Yeah, man. Right on. Thank you so much. I'm glad to have done it. I appreciate it.
All right, y'all. There you go. An end to a HuntStand podcast episode. We just want to thank Tim for coming on to today's episode to talk about mental fortitude, mental strength, physical strength, how he pushes through things, and just how he handles things in life, and just covering all these aspects that are overlooked. Just want to thank him again. And to all of y'all out there that tuned in today's podcast and the ones prior, thank you again for tuning in to the HuntStand podcast. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you on the next one.